Idubbz did everything right and they canceled him and they indicted me. It was the perfect N-word.
An apology is not enough for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything that he can do that will ever be enough.
Yeah.
And I think that him and any of these other creators who rebrand, if you genuinely are looking to better yourself, you have to acknowledge and accept that it won't be enough for some people.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I don't think about you. I don't lose sleep over you. You should be moving forward in a way that's repairing harm and being better every day of your life.
Yeah.
Because that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, not being a racist, not being a bigot is the bare minimum. We're not giving out cookies for that.
I don't really like that sentiment. Self-improvement should always be incentivized. I don't like the idea that, like, every time a person improves and the world improves with them, the immediate discussion is like, oh, well, I'm not thanking them for that. You know, I feel like there's more to talk about here than just your willingness to not, you know, like, in a purely utilitarian sense. I mean, obviously the goal should be to incentivize the best possible behavior. We don't want to make it intolerable to move left. That doesn't produce good outcomes. I just don't know what, like, the threshold for reconciliation is. But like, moving over to the left or becoming a better person doesn't require people who you've wronged in the past to like you, you know? This isn't like My Name is Earl. You know, growing as a person doesn't mean that you have to get the thumbs up from everyone behind you. That's not like the criteria by which you're judged.
Thank you so much. I am surprised that you agreed to do it, but very delighted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to expand my horizons a little bit. You know, 2016 me, you know, probably wouldn't.
Listen, I'm surprised 2023 you were doing it either.
Oh, hell yeah. I appreciate that. I take that as a compliment. I personally had an issue with, like, caring about people's feelings at all, because I felt like as soon as I would open that door, then, like, I felt like I would be a lot less safe to, you know, do and say whatever I wanted. And now that's kind of like an in, I guess, for people to criticize, or an in for, you know, people to, you know, because I'm essentially...
That's kind of true. It's one of the reasons why I say that for the most part, you should never apologize to, like, the mob, like capital T, capital M there. If you do a lot of good, you know, and one thing wrong, and you admit that you did one thing wrong, like, you're now wrong on everything. Because people are always going to accuse you of having fucked up on something. And as humans, we do fuck up on things. The problem is, like, it's really, really difficult to selectively point out where a mistake was made and then have people understand that's what you're willing to apologize for. So, like, an example would be, if I said something that I genuinely thought was, like, problematic or, like, bigoted or something, and I was like, oh, well, okay, I apologize for that. You can imagine a million people going, ah, well, what about all these things you said? And then they go on to, like, cite a ton of shit that I said that's totally fine, right? Once you indicate that you're willing to accept any criticism, you open yourself up to all of it. And criticism is good if it's good criticism, but this being the internet, it generally isn't. So I can understand a hesitance to open yourself up to stuff like that, though obviously, you know, it's going to happen to an extent anyway. So responsibly engaging with that is important.
So Francesca Ramsey, who I have spoken with, she tells us a story about being terrified in the airport when she runs into one of your fans.
When I encountered one of his fans in the airport, I had to ask myself, am I going to exit this conversation and continue to have my life? You know what I mean? Like, like, my life could be in danger, right? Like, and so, you know, again, that's why when there's all of these conversations about
what happened there. I guess without more details, that sounds like hyperbole, but I guess the person could have been super, like, fucking weird, you know? Even Idubbz has pointed out that his fans have been super fucking weird.
Don't call me a Karen, and don't call me white, and don't call me racist. It's like, when those names are used, your feelings are hurt. But when someone calls me the N-word, I have to wonder, is this person going to try and kill me? Am I going to lose my life right now?
Who comes up there and says...
That's true. Obviously, like, racial slurs aren't just insults, you know? Anyone unhinged enough to like, just go up to a black woman and shout the N-word is indicating a level of emotional investment and political bias that goes beyond, like, heckling. That's valid. Did they run up and say the N-word, or was it just like a fan? I don't know.
And I saw a content cop you did on Jinx.
On camera.
You don't get a break in the beginning. No resting. 100% 24/7 grind.
Damn, this nigga's on the grind. That shirt shouldn't say, it's about that time. It should say, it's about that grind. Fuck editing. Fuck that shit. What am I, a faggot? Dude, you can edit your video? No, what do I look fucking gay?
And I wonder why a jinx.
Okay, wait, I just want to be clear so this doesn't undermine the point, okay? I think that a lot of Idubbz stuff is both cringe and funny. I think it straddles a very unique line. The reason why I'm comfortable laughing here is because my community is like hardline left. And there are a bunch of different ways that you can interpret comedy like this. But there are a lot of people online who will literally just see, like, white guy said N-word, made fun of black man. Because a lot of people, this is why I hamper on, like, media critique so much. Because if a person doesn't understand what they're... And clearly, like, I think if we're even remotely charitable here, that video segment that we just watched, the point of it wasn't, haha, this guy's black. Like, that obviously wasn't the comedic thrust of the video. But a lot of people, like, that's what they'll pick up on and that's what they'll care about. So you're in this uncomfortable situation where, okay, the best example that you can get from this is if you have gay friends, they will make jokes about gay people that would be incredibly hateful if uttered by people who weren't gay. Like, there's some shit gay people will say to each other that sounds like it came right out of the mouth of, like, a Baptist minister. And if it came out of their mouth, that would be hate speech. But in the context of being with a group of friends where everyone knows, oh, we're all gay, we're all cool here, they make jokes that are obviously self-satirical, and the context changes massively. It's like how Boondocks, the Boondocks, is full of jokes making fun of black people, but it was written by black people for black people, so a lot of the comedy in that show is very clearly meant to be like a hyperbolic take on the racial dynamic and the stereotypes that black people live under, and not just like white people laughing and saying, haha, black people, right? Likewise with gay people and with their culture and their community. It's really just a matter of like knowing your audience. Is it okay to like the Boondocks as a white person? Well, yeah, you can like whatever you want. But it is worth pointing out, man, like this is the shit that Chris Rock said, right? Like Chris Rock would make the joke between N-words and N-words, right? That was Chris Rock? Or am I thinking of a Chappelle bit? That's Chris Rock, right? That was Chris Rock? Like soft A, hard R, N-words. Like he'd do a big bit. Oh no, it was N-words and black people is what he would say. Black people and N-words, right? And he stopped doing those bits because he felt like there were a lot of white people in the audience who were laughing for the wrong reason. But I guarantee you that when Chris Rock was like building that bit, like to tell in his stand-up, he was talking with black people. Like when he was trying out the black people and N-word bit, he was doing it with his friends, with the people he worked with, who I guarantee you were black. And then he goes and sees a white audience laughing, and he feels like there's a difference, you know? Like there's a difference in what's being laughed at and why. And that's why he dropped the bit. You understand what I mean? Yeah, Chappelle had a similar moment. Yeah, this consistently happens. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, so much of how quote-unquote problematic humor is interpreted and handled comes down to the audience and what the audience is primed to take from it.
You call these black people, you call black people themselves the N-word, but they aren't singled out in the apology, and I wonder why it is that that's the case.
Well, I think Jinx specifically, I think all of these creators to, varying degrees that I've made content cop videos on, I think they deserve, their own apology in their own way. I think Jinx is definitely one of them. I think the type of content he was making, in the same way that I felt, I guess it wasn't necessarily that, Jinx making reaction content, like, nowadays that's like, it's common.
What's your take? Should he have apologized to the black guys? I don't know. You can't apologize to everyone. You've been doing stuff for years, like have a 6,000 person email list. She's just more curious, I guess, why the one named person would be a white woman, considering the context of a lot of the stuff that he's apologizing for. It's not a matter of what he should or shouldn't do. I'm just interested in what they're talking about.
Sometimes you worry that, well, if I say it's okay, or if you forgive people, then it incentivizes other people to do the same. Like, what is to say there aren't going to be, because there is, it happens all the time of people saying, I want to do something and I don't think I have the talent to do it. I don't think I have this. So let me make my platform on punching down, and I will be able to at a later date say sorry and move on.
I think that's an extremely valid fear, and I think that's kind of what...
See, that's a disagreement I have. I don't. I genuinely don't think that, like, this is a thing anyone thinks. I don't think anyone thinks, like, I can spend years being edgy, so then I can shift over to the extremely lucrative market of, like, online leftists. You know? It's not like there's a huge incentive to shift left from a monetary perspective. Also, right now, Idubbz is getting torn apart by his own community because they don't like that he's like cucked himself out to the left or whatever. Even this video is 50-50 on the likes and dislikes. I really don't think that, like, there's a threat of people profiting from, like, the grift over to the left. To the right, yes. But notably, even when people grift over to the right loves it. They don't care if it's sincere, so.
Let me tie it back to you earlier saying you have no black friends. And I think there is a way to change that. You know what I mean? If you're a person, if you have the benefit, whether we like it or not, of I can't crush your platform, nobody else can either. You're gonna have one. You're gonna still have this audience. So if you have the benefit, your white privilege is that you have the ability to maintain your platform and continue to grow. I think a way that you step forward, a way you atone that, is to change the lack of the way the black.
I don't like this personally. Advice, get black friends, is just not, because it's like the incentive then is like, oh, time for me to find a black friend so that I can orient my shift in my political perspective and my humanization of black people around like an interpersonal friendship. Yeah, it's like a token thing. That has to be like a hands-off topic. Whether a person does or doesn't have black friends or whatever, you know, like if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. I don't think like, you know, like prerequisites, like The Sims, like prerequisite for like lefty growth, like have black friends. Yeah, I don't like that. Then again, she's saying it pretty casually here. I wish there were more questions that had to do with what he wants, more so than what he has to do. I think you can learn a lot more about a person by asking them what they want than by seeing their reactions to being told what they have to do.
In some respect, I will consider your presence here, you taking the step in to getting on the black side of the internet. But I do think that is a way you can concretely do something. Like, take a look at the privated videos or whatever videos it is.
Oh, by the way, if you're trying to keep a white boy from saying the N-word, do not make them have black friends. There is nothing black people like more than to chant like fucking, say it, white boy, say it, white boy. Like, they love that shit more than anything else. Like seriously, the worst possible advice you can give a white boy with regards to not saying the N-word. You know, Samuel Jackson times.
The N-word.
No, nobody, none.
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Why not?
I don't like to say it.
Try it.
I don't like to say it.
Try it.
Really? Seriously?
We're not gonna have this conversation unless you say it.
The N-word. I don't want to say it.
Come on, say it.
I was going to go on Tana's podcast.
Yeah.
What is your, I guess, I'm curious what your thoughts on doing that would be.
I think you can do that. I don't think that there is a problem with you doing that, especially if that's somebody you singled out and you did do something there. And like I said, I don't think you're wrong to apologize to or acknowledge a dangerous element or that. I don't think that will warm the hearts of the communities, the particular marginalized communities they feel impacted by, because I think they're still going to feel like the narrative will still be that a white woman was centered in all of this, and that ultimately you're apologizing for saying a racial slur, a black racial slur, to a white lady. So I don't think you're wrong to do it. I think you can do multiple things in the same way that you could sit down and talk to me. I think you can sit down and talk to Tana. So I think that's fine. I don't think you have to take that out of your.
I just don't think he has to do anything. If he moves over, he moves over. But we're not really evaluating his interpersonal relationships with previous people that he's wronged. He wants to? Well, if he wanted to, he would just do it. I feel like moving on is sometimes the best. I just worry about like this infinitely granular attitude towards rehabilitation, where it's like, okay, well, you've done the first 50 things, but have you done this next 50? I'm not saying that she's doing that here. It's just I worry about that trend. Mostly because of how nebulous this, like, well, what do you need to do thing is, like where that stops or where that point really ends. And I don't know what the threshold should be.
I've watched, I tend to want to stay away from a lot of the reaction videos to like my apology and stuff, because mentally it's just tough to deal with.
Yeah.
But there have been a few that I've watched fully, and Cat Black is one of the videos that I've watched. And
oh no.
I would say, out of any of the reactions to watch, in my opinion, it would be Cat Black's response, because she definitely comes from, obviously a perspective of,
we're looking down the barrel of a timeline where in 2024 Idubbz cancels me on Twitter for my reactionary politics. Do you think the Cat Black video has like a 20-minute interlude in the middle where she talks about how she doesn't care about my penis? I enjoyed watching this video a lot. I'm kind of curious to see how things go. I wonder how hard it would be to talk to Idubbz. He doesn't follow me on Twitter, which makes me think that he might not like me.